Welcome back. So instead of hard coding login and logout, we're going to add a logout button this lesson right here in the toolbar. And then we are going to try and show it if we authenticate it, or else we'll hide it. Now when I click this logout button, I'm going to log out, of course, and then it's going to hide itself as soon as I've logged out. That's kind of the goal. So let's start out by just adding a login button. A logout button. Now to do that, we need to go in here and we need to start working with our beautiful, beautiful flex layout. Now one thing that I've forgotten a few times now when I actually make these videos is to start out by importing the flex layout module inside the module you're working in right now. So if it's not already there and you want to use the flex layout, you have to import that module, the flex layout module. So what I'm going to start out doing is I'm going down to the shared module. That's where my toolbar resides, inside the shared module right here. Notice that's the toolbar component. And here I'm going to add the flex layout module. Just start out by doing that because you won't get any errors if it's not there. But you just won't get the effect either. So it won't start flexing out, right? It won't start working. So there we go. Now we have the flex layout module, and that pretty much means that we can now start defining how our button should look, or sorry, how our toolbar should look. So step one is I'm just going to copy the button right here, and I want to add a button in the end of, I have a button that can kind of toggle the nav bar, and then I want a button to kind of log out. Now let me just change this to a primary color just to kind of show you guys the different colors. And right now I don't want a click event for now. Let's just get rid of that. And then the last thing I want, instead of using the list nav bar, the list icon right here, I want to use another icon. I want to find an icon that kind of shows me that I can log out. So let's jump in here in the code, and I found this exit to app. But notice right here, let me just zoom. Notice the name exit to app right here. It's actually exit space to space app. That won't work as a string. So what you have to do is you have to put in underscores. So I'll say exit underscore to underscore app, right? So the spaces are replaced with underscore. You just have to know that inside the mat icon set right here. So that should do it. Exit underscore to underscore app. Let's see if it worked. There we go. Now we have the beautiful exit to app. But it's kind of cramped up. I want it to be moved all the way to the right side. I want it to go all the way over here, right? So let's try and do that with the flex layout. Now what do we need to do? First, let's explain to the flex layout that we're going to have a row right here. So I'm going to explain that the toolbar is going to have the layout type of row. There we go. So now it knows it's a row. And again, it's a row because I'm placing something first in the row, second in the row, and third in the row. So this is kind of a row when we have the flow layout like we have right here. So the flex layout is giving you the flow, right? Sweet. Now let's do one more thing before we do anything else. I also want to kind of call this my family photo sharing app, like this. There we go. Just to have the right name here instead of stupid custom toolbar. There we go. Now the last thing I need to do is kind of push this way over here, and I'll do that by adding something called fx flex, like this. So that just means that I'm going to grab all the space available. Let's see if that helped. Boink! It moved all the way over here. The flex layout is pretty awesome when it works. Yay, I said when it works. Jumping back here, the last thing, I don't want the inline styling. Let's get rid of that and see how it looks. Looks horrible, it's too close. I still want the space, but how do we do that? Well, with the flex layout, you're going to instead say fx flex, and then you're going to make an offset of 10 pixels right here. There we go. That should make an offset of 10 pixels. Now the offset is going to be horizontally because this is a row layout right now. So the offset, when I put that in, it'll be this way. It'll be pulling the family photo sharing app text away from both areas right here, from both this area and away from this area right here. So that's all I had to do. Now I've kind of aligned this and made it look pretty. I just need to now call the logout function so that I can actually log out with this guy right here. So let's try and do that. Jumping into my code again, I'm going to make a click event for this guy down here, the second button. So I'm going to say click, and I'm going to say logout, right? That's just the function I want to call. Now let's jump down to the toolbar component TS file, because I'm going to need access to my auth service down here. So I'm just doing a dependency injection of the auth service. There we go. And then I will use that auth service inside a new function that I'll make called logout down here. Now that function is pretty much just going to call this .auth service. Now notice auth service is not available right now because I forgot the private keyword. There we go. So I'll just add that. Then I'll say logout. There we go. Now for now, let's not use the promise. We can use that later. It should just log out. So let's jump back to our login component and let's just remove the logout function from this component right here. And there we go. Let's try and also just save down here. See, something is wrong down here. What's wrong? Oh, I put in some kind of weird key. That should be it. We should be done. Now the reason that I removed the logout from up here is pretty much just now every time I refresh my login component page, it'll automatically log in, and every time I press the logout button, it'll log out. Let's try and see if it works. So right now we're logged in right here. Let me just clear this, press logout, and we're logged out. Let's just refresh the page, and we are logged back in. So the button is still not hiding, so we need to fix that as well. So let's jump back to our code, and what we're going to do right here is we're going to add an ngIf right here, just saying if we are logged in, then show it, else don't show it. So I'll just add an is logged in Boolean value right here. Now remember again, my code doesn't know about this, so I'll have to go and generate this in the code now. Jumping into my code, and right above the output, I'm going to make a new function of, a new property of the type Boolean. That's called is logged in. Now how do I populate this? Well, I'm going to use my auth service, and I'm going to use my is authenticated that I just built in the previous lesson. And in that one, I'm going to subscribe now. Let's just make that a new line. I'm going to subscribe. And that subscription is going to return is logged in variable right here. And that is logged in variable, I'm just going to set that on my local is logged in right here. And that's going to be equal is logged, like this. There we go. That's all we have to do. Now we are going to start out by actually hooking this up and listening if we're logged in or logged out. If this changes, then it'll actually show and hide this button now, right? Let's see if it works. So I'm going to log out right here. The button is gone. I'm going to refresh the page, and then it'll automatically log in again, and the button should appear again. And I'm going to log out again, clicking this guy, and I'm logged out. Of course, we'll build more on this. We need a login as well, but now we have the logout up and running. See you next time. Have fun.